We just knew what it was about. The English, the Germans were desperately keen to take Britain, and we were desperately keen not to let them. That was all it was, really, as basic as that. I left school when I was about 18, and I went to France to stay with various families to learn French. When I was staying with a family, it had 3 girls as well, so we were sort of playing around, doing nothing much. And I also read all the books which had been banned in my convent school before I went to France. They were all, I could read them all in French. They were all very racy. Yes. I didn't know anything until I had a telegram from my father, who was an admiral, and he said, "Come home at once. The war is looming." But eventually I met my mother in Dieppe, and she had my small brother with her. And we crossed the channel, one of the last ferries across before the war. It was rather inconvenient, really, the whole thing, as I hadn't really finished learning French, but I had to get back. And I was going to Oxford eventually. It wasn't long before I realised that Oxford was not on for the war. We'd have to win the war first. So then I started, I'd better be a nurse, I thought, you know, sort of romantic kind of thing to be. So I went and did some first aid lessons. And my grandfather very kindly let me practice on his rather bald head, practicing these extraordinary bandages you had to do on your head. Can you imagine any idiotic girl being given the chance of bandaging somebody that had that sort of illness? It was impossible. I was playing bridge, and one of them happened to be a Colonel Lawton, who happened to be the brother of Vera Lawton Matthews, who had just been given the chance of completely starting the Wrens all over again. I asked him to give me a reference in my application to join, so that was quite a good move. And I then was sent immediately to have an interview in London. The Wrens offered me a job there and then at the headquarters. They had their headquarters at that time in Trafalgar Square. But actually I had joined the Wrens thinking that I would be freeing a sailor to go to sea, and also having the opportunity of meeting some of these sailors. I hadn't really looked forward to working with all these old biddies at the headquarters. I was always being punished for being late, and I was no good at typing. They made you have a thing over so that you couldn't see the letters. It was all punished frequently by being made to scrub floors. We were all rather expecting bombs to fall on our heads, but there was nothing. The phony war is what it turned out to be. And that went on. We were all rather expecting something all the time. But what happened first of all was the aircraft come over from Germany and bombed us. And all day and any time. And amazingly, we actually watched dogfights over Trafalgar Square, which was rather amazing. They were fighting, and we were winning, and we were blasting them out of the sky. Trafalgar Square, the opposite side to the square, was the National Gallery. And there most of the paintings had been sent abroad or into the country for safety. And they had the most wonderful concerts in the middle of the day. With people like Mara Hess, who was the most wonderful pianist. And I went over there and I arranged for us, Wrens, to be allowed to use our meal tickets there. We were given meal tickets for 1 shilling and 3pence a day. And so I arranged that if we went there to a concert, they would give us coffee and sandwiches, delicious sandwiches, and a lovely big cup of coffee, and listen to a concert all during your lunch hour. Nothing could be better. Having watched a dogfight on the way there, perhaps. I was sent down to East Tilbury to join something called a degaussing range. Gauss was a German mathematician of great brilliance, and the degaussing range, they were pieces of equipment which were laid on the bottom of the River Thames, and every ship that came in or came out of the Thames barrier had to cross them, and they had to have their magnetic emission measured so that they wouldn't be blown up by magnetic bombs, which the Germans were dropping by parachute and laying by submarine in the Thames. And in the end, all round the coast, every place in the whole of the English coast had eventually got a degaussing range. And I was sent down to run the office of it, really. Each ship that came over the range, a scientific officer would be sent on board to measure the emission. The measurement would be sent by Morse code to Coalhouse Fort, where I suppose I had about half a dozen or a dozen Wrens, I can't remember how, under me. I was 20 at the time. I was promoted to leading Wren, which was very good. I had a little badge which I had to sew on my arm of a Wren, so that was rather smart. And I felt that we were being something really useful, this, in preventing our ships from being blown up. That was good. It affects your whole mentality, your sort of growing up, really. It makes you grow up rather faster, I think. You know, because when you're growing up, you're absolutely nothing. Floating about in France, doing absolutely nothing but read and play, you know. And then suddenly you're just in this amazing whole thing, which is so absolutely vital to everybody. Being so close to death and destruction in all directions.